G'day, Blue Baggers, and welcome to this week's edition of Blues Footy Live. Back with my co-host Harrison Hymans here. Bolt, welcome.
How are we?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Another week in lockdown, so another week where we can't go to the footy. But I guess a week when you're winning is always nice, and we have to go again.
Yeah, look, it's going to be very interesting. And I want to start with the changes, Bolt. That's where we have to start because they were absolutely bizarre, in my opinion. I'm a bit rattled. Can you talk us through the change and your thoughts?
Well, so Owi's out for Cripps. And when I say Owi's out being managed, Carlton's done this a couple times this year where we've made the guy that's been managed the sub. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to get sucked in for this shit again. As in their eyes, I'm going to take it as he's been omitted, which for me is a joke. As in, I think Owi's has been a really good contributor since he's come into the team. The fact that someone like Matt Cottrell can keep his spot, or even as Fam Gaming said, Owi's has a role in the team. Owi's has been playing that role pretty consistently, for the good part of this year. And it's just, he was probably one of the only few guys that gave us energy against the Cats at the MCG. I'm just very, very confused. I think there were, at least Cottrell, Newnes, Petrevski, Seddon for me should be. I don't even think any. I just think it should have been easy as Cripps for Cottrell. I don't even want to bring in other names, but the Owi's one and the fact he's an emergency, which shows he's technically available to play, just makes no sense.
Yeah, look. It's no secret that Owi's is one of my favourite players, if not my favourite player at the moment. And it's absolutely absurd to me that he's been dropped. I'm going to say dropped because managed these days is the same crap as dropped. He's had 2 weeks where he hasn't kicked a goal, but big deal because, as you said, I think against Geelong, he was one of our more vibrant players. And I just think that it's absolutely absurd, to be honest with you, that he's been
goal kicking's let him down, to be fair, but he just offers more than I'm very confused. And look, if he wasn't, I think it's the fact that he's literally been managed and he's an emergency, which really sets me off. We saw the same thing with Lockie Fogarty. He was managed, he was made the sub, and now he's nothing. So he's just naturally been omitted. I just don't get it. We'll see what happens next week with Owi's, but it's good to have the captain back at least.
It is. I think the other thing, which is just, a bit bizarre, is the fact that the club would post that video today of Brodie Kemp. I know they didn't announce anything, but that is as much of an indication as you could possibly give that a player is going to make their debut. And not in. I mean, it's just bizarre.
We've seen that countless times, debutants announced like that, so it's weird, but I did find it weird the club were quiet on it all day, but maybe he'll be the sub, which would be, dare I say, very Carlton.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer to see him in full capacity than sub, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I want to. My opinion on this. I'm pretty strong on Murphy being pretty much a permanent sub for the rest of the year if he's not going to be in the 22. But yeah, I don't really understand Kemp being a sub. I don't love handing out debuts like that, but it's their prerogative, I guess. It's weird how we've come. Who would have thought, when 6 months ago, that we'd be going nuts over Cripps in for Owi's?
It's funny.
It's weird to think about. But it's fair. It just shows, the growth that Owi's has shown. But as we said, I think last week, or maybe we said it on the podcast, that Owi's is that type of guy that, can't get too comfortable at the level either. Because, if he has a really bad 6, 7, 8 weeks, all of a sudden we may not see him again for another few months. So it's, he's deaf, but I think his form has been, I don't think his form has warranted any, omission.
At the end of the day, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in the 4 walls of the club. Maybe they've felt that he's, getting a bit comfortable and, maybe someone who needs to continuously work hard and they're trying to get more out of him possibly.
But look, if he has been managed, communicate that to us. That's what really just, annoys me. Just be transparent. Tell your members what's going on, because we're not idiots. We can see he's named as an emergency, and we can probably assume he's a fair chance of being the sub. And if not, we know he'll play the VFL scratch. It's just weird.
So I don't really understand the whole Murphy situation. I mean, if he's not the sub, get the guy to 300 games. As fans and members,
I agree.
I think people will go mental if he doesn't hit 300 games and retires under that and was fit to reach that.
I'd be pretty disappointed as a fan of Carlton, because if he's the sub, it's just an easy game. But we'll see what happens. He's got 4 to go, 5 weeks to go. We'll be close. Let's
preview the match, Bolt. Firstly, we should acknowledge the marvellous win on the weekend. How good was it?
Brilliant. It wasn't a 4-quarter performance, but the last quarter was worth its weight in gold. 6 goals to 0. It was just fabulous. It was fabulous. Star power. That's what you can put it down to. Sam Walsh, Harry Mackay, star power. Absolute rock stars of this competition. And to beat, the old enemy like that was very, very nice. But, it was very exciting. It was a great win. And to do it without, both your co-captains was really cool as well, I think, underratedly. There was a big leadership hole, not in that team. And backs against the wall, 20 points down, on multiple occasions. So it wasn't, at the end of the day, the opposition are rubbish, but it was a good win.
It's going to be very interesting this week. We got North. Oh, huge, huge game. North Melbourne have some big ins, Cunnington and Jed Anderson. Where do you see this match being won? Because they've got a pretty good midfield, it must be said. Ours performed very well last week. Are we going to need to get the same sort of output from our mids?
For sure. As in Anderson and Cunnington are midfield bulls. Cunnington's arguably the best contested midfielder in the comp. Simpkin's been playing well. Dumont fills a role, which we know. And Davies Uniacke's going to be a really special player. So it'll be very interesting. And we saw, I'm not sure if you caught the North Melbourne Essendon game last week, but Taron Thomas was unbelievable. So, he's another one, and Stevenson, they're 2 high half forwards. So they've got a pretty fair group. To be honest, it's probably a deeper midfield than ours. I'm not going to lie to you. So I think they've been playing better footy than us recently. I know we've been winning, but I think they've been playing better overall. Midfield's a big one for us. I think I'm pretty confident we'll win if H gets out of control. And I think Robbie Tarrant, because I think Robbie Tarrant, from a North Melbourne perspective, would be the ideal matchup for H, just given he's a bit stronger and a little bit more robust than Ben Mackay. So I'm pretty happy with the matchup, to be honest. Ben on H. I'm pretty confident. Mackay twin.
You reckon H gets better of his brother?
I just think he's a better player. I just think he's straight ahead, but we'll see what happens. First time they've been on opposing teams in an AFL game, so it'll be very, very interesting.
Absolutely. Let's talk about how their forwards are going to match up. So they've got quite a crafty forward line. How do you think they match up against us? Because it's quite short, and our defence can be quite tall at times. I think Plowman will have to play small this week, won't he?
Yep. We'll be waitering on Larky. It might actually be waitering on Zerha Jones on Larky, because Larky's a little bit more stay at home. He's a bit taller than Zerha. That could go either way. If it was me, I'm going to say waitering Zerha Jones Larky, but I think I got last week's completely wrong. So don't hold me to account. And then they've got their medium. Well. And the resting ruckman. So it could even be Jones on the resting ruckman, Plowman on a Zerha. I don't know. No, Bucky was just saying that I think Tarrant, would have been the ideal matchup if he was playing. But that's why I think it's a pretty good omission from our end. But, I'm not sure how we'll go about that, because even Curtis Taylor's like a medium-sized player, which, kind of suits the Plowman narrative a little bit. I don't know. They are a bit tricky. They're pretty versatile. I watched the North Melbourne, West Coast game on that Monday night, literally from start to finish, and they're dynamic, those two, Larky and Zerha. They're actually pretty good to watch. It will be interesting how we go about that. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Plowman, to be honest, should go to Zerha. I don't think
Yeah.
Zerha's small, little crafty player.
No, Zerha's tallish.
Is Zerha
He's
tall?
180. He's 189. He's like Gunston. He's like a bit like Gunston.
Okay, so I've got that completely wrong. I thought he was a smaller bloke. No, then I agree with you. And I think I personally see Zerha as their most threatening forward. So I'd probably then put Weeders on him. But it also, like, Weeders is much taller than him. So,
Yeah.
Will Weeders be able to go with him on the ground? Jones
Yeah,
might.
I know. It might be a Plowman job. It might be. But, I thought last week Plowman was clearly the weakest link in the back six. And then, there is the Stocker argument, but I don't know. I don't know if I love it. I don't think I like it on the basis. I prefer Stocker to almost, because if Stocker's playing on, that's such a big defensive job. He's probably their most threatening forward, behind Larkey maybe. I don't love, because I think if Zerha gets the Stocker matchup, I just think they're going to try and isolate Stocker as deep as he can, because that hinders his own game. So I don't know. It is a tricky one. We do love Stocker though.
Yeah, it's look, we love
Stocker. It is a weird team. It is a weird team.
It's a very weird team. I love that call from KFC Matzo. Bluebag is tuning in. Let us know what you think of North Melbourne. How do we match up? How do our backs match up on their forwards? Because this really could go anywhere. I think the Stocker on Zerha matchup, it would just be two really aggressive, courageous players going at it. They'd be in each other's grill the whole day if that were the case. But I think Stocker would be better utilised, as you like to see him as a rebounding defender, get more of the pill in his hands. He's a good ball user. I'd prefer him to play that sort of a role this week.
I like basing him around Nick Vlosten a little bit. I like, in terms of current I like that type of role. I know, I've gone from Scotland to Hodge to Vlosten. I know. But
from Scotland to Hodge to Boston.
I change like the wind. But I see Hodge attributes, but in terms of like his role at Carlton right now, it's very much like a cog, like Vlosten is at Richmond.
Yeah. Don't mind that. This is an interesting point. Let Wiedering and Jones set the wall up.
Yeah, so if Stocker was to go to Zerha, it'd be Wiedering on Larkey and Jones on the resting ruckman. And I almost back Jones to be good enough to be able to peel off the resting ruckman to, I guess, give Stocker a chop out if he needed. It's a tough one. I just think it makes more sense for Plowman, just in terms of, I say that and I don't know. It's a bit of a headache, isn't it, to think about? It'll be very interesting.
But we're coming up against a very weird North Melbourne defence as well. So they've got a weird forward line and they've got a weird defence. Jack Zeeble and Aaron Hall, they just stay back and they collect the scraps. Thoughts on how we tackle this? Because they get a lot of pill.
They do. They're seagulls, Hall and Zeeble.
Yeah.
They're seagulls. Look.
Jack Zeeble's your favourite captain in the league, isn't he?
If I was a North Melbourne fan, he would send me up the wall, Jack Zeeble. He literally stands on the full back line and runs and chases kickouts and out on the, I was about to swear, and out on the fools, and he would really give me the shits. But the Mackays will play on each other. Then there's the greatest journeyman in recent times, Josh Walker.
Mate, tell you what, no joke, he's had a good year.
Yeah, no, he plays every week. He's got the greatest manager on earth as well. He will probably... So Martin was pretty good last week, but I feel like Martin doesn't play deep enough for Josh Walker. I'm not... It'd be very interesting. I'm not even sure. And then there's the Betts matchup, as in who's going to take Eddie. It might be Kane Turner's been playing these weird roles where he's been seriously locking down. And it might be a job for Atley. It might even be a job for the captain, Zeeble to play on Eddie, which would be interesting.
I like that. Is Anderson coming in to play on Walsh?
That's nice. Just a fly on the shoulder.
Let's talk about this midfield matchup then. Do you think? Oh, I'm looking at North, and I go Cunnington straight away. He's definitely their best midfielder. Do you think? Do you think Anderson poses a threat? I mean, how do we tackle their mid?
Yeah, Anderson had a very good 2020. So Anderson's definitely he's a notable inclusion. I'll put it that way. He's definitely a notable inclusion. Cunnington is clearly their best midfielder, though, in my opinion. It suits Matt Kennedy, though, because he'll have a crack, and it suits Ed Curnow if he's going to be around stoppages as well. So I think if Curnow had to go to anyone, I saw a few people saying maybe Simpkin. I think Curnow to Cunnington makes a little bit more sense. And I think from their end, they will probably be likely to maybe run Dumont with a Cripps or something like that. Or they may want to make just a head-to-head battle and get, Cunnington on Cripps around stoppages and really let them go head-to-head. But, yeah, Kennedy, we know Kennedy will run through them. So, yeah.
Well, I must ask, what were your thoughts on PD2 last week? What were your thoughts? He had a huge first quarter, dropped off a little bit, but was quite impressive. And there's a lot of people, I think, who would want to know how you think he's tracking.
He did have a very good first quarter, and then he did disappear a bit after that. But I think what I've been very impressed with Dow is just his ability to almost weave out of stoppages. I think his evasive skills have been really good. I think he's definitely now, found a level in where he kind of knows his own game. I still don't think he's a great kicker of the footy, albeit it probably has improved, but I still don't think he's a great distributor. But I think his, aim from here on just has to be consistent 4 quarters. He did something very similar against Freo, where he had an amazing first quarter, was a little bit unsighted thereafter. But if he can put it all together, it'll be nice. But, yeah, once again, I'll give him credit where credit's due. He's been playing well.
Yeah, no, I think he has been. He's looked like he's really starting to put something together. I've personally really enjoyed watching him the last few weeks. Now, someone we haven't really spoken about a lot, who I think is going to play a significant part in our defence, is Williamson, because he's still in the side. I mean, he's almost the forgotten man, Tom Williamson. He's stuck around the last fortnight. Could he potentially, just going back to the backline matchups, could he potentially play on one of North's dangerous forwards? What role is he going to play, I guess?
Yeah, you'll probably just run through the defensive rotations, whether that's Curtis Taylor or Jaden Stevenson when he's a little bit deeper, or we even see sometimes they try and get Cunnington deep, which probably Newman takes if he gets that deep. He'll just run through whoever. Really, this is going to sound horrible, but I see Tom Williamson as a number.
Yeah, I mean, he was very good last year, as we've said on multiple occasions. He had a huge year last year and hasn't really converted this year, but we still have belief and hopefully that he can do that going forward. Bolt, let's quickly talk about predictions. How do you think the match will unfold? Who are you tipping? And just before you give us your prediction, Blue Bag is tuning in. Comment in the comment section who's going to win and by how much, and we will pop them up on the screen. Bolt, what's your prediction?
And whilst we're at it, we may as well get, in celebration of his 200th game, your favourite Ed Curnow moment.
Yes, great call. Great call. Love it.
So prediction. Carlton against the bottom team is never a nice narrative, is it?
It's not.
It's never nice. I looked at this fixture very early in the year and thought round 19 is going to be interesting. Or whatever round we're up to, round 19. Oh, Jed. I don't know. I think we'll be okay. I think.
I actually don't like it when you tip us, because whenever you tip us, we lose, and whenever you don't tip us, we win.
I know.
You even have a funny feeling against Geelong somehow, and whenever you think we're going to win, we don't. So I'd actually prefer if you don't tip us.
Alrighty, well then North by 15 goals. But, look, if we can't win on Saturday, Monday will be interesting. As in, we're going to come under a lot of heat if we can't win on Saturday. I think we should be okay. I think we should be okay, but I'm always wary against teams like this. And they've been playing okay. We can't discredit them. They've been playing well.
No, I was going to say, mate, can we run through their last month of results? I've watched North's games. They've been impressive. Like that win over in Perth, that is a gutsy win.
There was so much ticker on that Monday. They were brilliant. And they didn't shame themselves against Footscray. Say that again?
Could have beaten Essendon last week.
Yeah, for sure. They were coming, they drew with GWS, as in they definitely haven't shamed themselves. It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting. I'm wary. I'm going to tip us, but I'm
Can we quickly look at this?
Wary.
North Melbourne, right? Since the bye, drew with GWS. They lost to Brisbane, but only by 4 goals. They beat the Gold Coast. They lost to Bulldogs, who are top of the table, only by 5 goals. They beat West Coast over in Perth, and they could have beaten Essendon last week. They're going well. We can't take them easy. We have to treat this as big of a threat as really anyone, because when teams are playing like this with nothing to lose, they're dangerous.
We played Adelaide at a very similar situation last year and got rolled, where they were kind of starting to come into good form towards the end of the year. So we just got to focus, just got to concentrate on Saturday. We'll see what happens though. And your favourite Ed Curnow moment, is there one that stands out?
Mate, my favourite Ed Curnow moment, I think, is his debut. I just remember, we're going back so long now, but I remember...
Was it round 1, 2011?
Yeah, it was round 1. And I remember back then, I had him in my fantasy team. So I was really I was obviously watching him closely, Carlton debutant, but extra closely. And I just remember thinking, wow, for a rookie, this guy's going to be amazing. And I just think he's slotted in so seamlessly at the level virtually from the get-go. And ever since then, he's just slotted in seamlessly. What is your favourite moment from Ed Curnow's?
I just had a quick Google. 24 disposals and a goal on debut is pretty handy.
He was amazing. He scored 107 fantasy points.
It's an interesting memory.
Weird memory, mate. Weird memory.
I don't really have a specific moment. Not a specific moment, but I think what he doesn't get enough credit for is the 2013 elimination final, where, Trent Cotchin was at the peak of his game and Ed Curnow was a third-year midfielder and just belted him. Absolutely. Just, I think Cotchin kicked a goal in the first quarter and, did F-all after. And he had the same role in round 21 that year against Richmond. So I just think, a performance like that, where, he sacrificed his game for a long time for us, which is why he doesn't have, the highlights reel like some others. But I just remember that performance where we had so many guys playing defensive roles that day. I think Armfield as well and Tui. But, Curnow's on the captain was just absolutely enormous.
I think also, probably one of my favourite moments as well. And I know, it was one of the weird years of his career, but going back a couple of years ago when Brendan Bolton put him in the forward pocket and he kicked 4 goals against Sydney, showing he'll play wherever the team want him to play and he'll absolutely give his all wherever we put him, really. That stands out to me.
For sure.
Bolt, I think that's a wrap. We'll be back next week, but gee, this is a big game, and it's an underratedly big game. Got to just, it's one of those ones, Bolt, where you got to get in, get the 4 points, and skedaddle.
Skedaddle. If we win, we're out of the 8 on percentage at full time. So let's see how we go.
That'll be huge. Bolt, thank you very much. Blue Baggers, thank you for tuning into this week's edition of Blues Footy Live, and we'll be back to do it all again next week. And hopefully after next week, we can go back to the football. Hopefully this is the last week.
We'll see what happens.
Go Blues. Thank you, Bolt. Thank you, Blue Baggers, for tuning in, and we'll be back next week.
Go Blues.